Hi friends, my name is Jess. Welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime. Today I'm bringing you another installment in my TBR game, and today we are going to be letting my tarot cards pick my April TBR. So if you've never watched one of these TBR games on my channel before, basically what I do is I lay out a 6-card spread. I have this big long list of prompts. I have a prompt written out for every single card in my tarot deck, and so based on the 6 cards that I draw, I go through, pick those 6 prompts out, and I match books to those prompts, and that is how my tarot cards pick my TBR. So let's just jump right into making the spread and see what's in the cards for us for April. So card number 1 is Page of Swords. The Page of Swords represents new ideas, curiosity, and a thirst for knowledge. And so the prompt I came up with for this card is to read a book with a bookish main character. And for that prompt, I've decided to read Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is a classic that I have never read before, and it is one that has been on my list for quite a while. It's actually going to be part of an upcoming secret TBR, so that, along with my cards, are giving me a little push to read it. The universe is telling me it's time. This book basically follows the 4 March sisters as they grow up, and they grow apart and they grow together and they find out what they want out of life. It's kind of hard to explain it because it's not really about any one thing other than about these sisters and their bond together. I have seen the recent movie with Saoirse Ronan and Timothée Chalamet, etc., and I absolutely loved the movie, so I'm very excited to finally jump into this book. And our main character, Jo, who is one of the March sisters, she wants to be a writer, so I would consider that to be a bookish character because she likes to read and aspires to be a writer, so I think that counts. Card number 2 is the 10 of Swords. This card represents painful endings, deep wounds, betrayal, and loss. And so the prompt I came up with for this card is to read a book featuring a betrayal. And to complete that prompt, I'm planning to read Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I have never read Gillian Flynn, so this is going to be my first one, and I picked this one because the synopsis definitely sounds the most interesting to me out of the 3 books of hers that I have. And this book basically follows our main character, Libby. And when Libby was younger, her entire family was killed, and she famously testifies that it was her brother who was the killer. But then later on down the road, there is this group of armchair investigators who really believes that Libby's brother was not the killer, and they're trying really hard to exonerate him, and so they confront Libby and all of this shit goes down. In this book, there's obviously a betrayal. Either Libby's brother betrayed her and her family by killing them all, or Libby betrayed her brother by testifying that it was him. I'm not quite sure, but there's definitely some kind of betrayal in this book, and this book sounds so good. I'm very excited to finally pick up my first Gillian Flynn, and I hope it lives up to the hype. The next card I drew was the 6 of Wands. This card represents public recognition, victory, and progress, and so the prompt I came up with for this card is to read a book featuring politics. And y'all, I know you're going to be annoyed with me because I've been mentioning these books in my last 2 TBRs, but the book I picked to read for this prompt is 𝗖ście by Neil Shusterman. No, I have not finished this yet. I am very, very behind, but I'm determined to read the entire series this month so I can at least participate in the last 𝗖ście Along the live show for the toll because I'm so behind. Oh my gosh. I'm 30% of the way through this book, and originally when I wrote up my TBR, I put the toll in this spot, but still haven't finished 𝗖ście, so we're gonna put 𝗖ście in this spot instead, or Thunderhead if I somehow manage to miraculously finish this before March is over. Not looking good, but we'll see. This book takes place in this dystopian world where death has been eradicated, nobody dies, and so they have these figures called scythes, and they go around and like harvest people so that they keep the population in check. You know, population control, important. We don't want the world overrun with people. So that is the job of these scythes. These scythes are kind of like the political leaders too in this world. They really have a lot of power and sway. And there is also this rising sect of scythes who are kind of like a cult and are really like power hungry and stuff. So there's definitely elements of politics within these books. So I think this definitely fits this prompt. And I really love this book. So I've just been very unmotivated in general and kind of in a reading slump, but hopefully I'll be able to kick that here soon. And so this book is definitely in the cards for me in the coming weeks. The fourth card I drew is the King of Cups. This card represents emotional balance, compassion, and diplomacy, and the prompt that I came up with to loosely fit those terms is to read an LGBT romance, and for that prompt I'm planning to read In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. I talked about this book in my newest anticipated releases video that came out last week, and I kind of mentioned that it gave me Gentleman's Guide vibes without the problematic author, and I definitely stand by that comparison. It follows our main character who is setting off on his coming of age tour around the world, and he gets kidnapped by pirates, and I think he falls in love with one of the pirates or something. The cover is to die for. Look at that pastel queer realness. I am obsessed. Very excited to read this one. This is an art. I think it comes out in April, maybe the April 20th, so I'm very excited to pick this one up, and I think it will fit this prompt perfectly. The next card I drew is the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles represents wealth, inheritance, and family, and so the prompt is to read a family drama. I feel like this can be interpreted pretty loosely, any kind of book with a family drama in it. So the book I'm planning to read for this prompt is The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. This book follows our main character, Charlotte, whose life was torn apart when she was younger. Somebody broke into her family home and killed her mother and left her family fractured, her father devastated. Charlie now has followed in her father's footsteps and become an attorney, and she is the first on the scene of this crime that really digs up a lot of memories that she's long suppressed. And I think this crime is somehow connected to what happened to her family years ago. So I feel like there's definitely a center on family in this book, maybe sisterhood, maybe the relationship between father and daughter. So I definitely think it has elements of family drama, at least hopefully, and I'm very, very excited to get to this one. This one is also going to be featured in a secret TBR, so watch out for that vlog. And then the final card I drew was the Three of Swords. This card represents heartbreak, emotional pain, and sorrow, and so the prompt for this card is to read an emotional book, and for that I plan to read The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris. This is a book about this boy who is able to see into the future, and he foresees his brother's untimely death, and I think this causes a number of events to kind of spiral out of his control. Definitely sounds like an emotional story about brotherhood and what do you do if you can tell what's going to happen. This book sounds so good. I'm very excited to pick this one up. This book comes out in April, so it's a new release. I also talked about this one in my anticipated releases video, and I did get an arc on NetGalley, which I'm very grateful for, so I'm very excited to pick this one up this month. And so those are the 6 books that were in the cards for me this month, but I do have a couple other books that I want to get through, so I'm going to talk about those really quickly. So I am planning to do a NetGalley sort of reading vlog, so as I mentioned, In Deeper Waters and The Cost of Knowing are probably both going to be in that vlog, and then I have 2 more books that I am going to include as well. And the first is Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town by 𝗤𝗠𝗄 Hitchcock. This is a short story collection about how the lives of a bunch of different people intertwine. These people live from Alaska to the American West, and I think there's some kind of thread that connects all of them together. I really love The Smell of Other People's Houses by 𝗤𝗠𝗄 Hitchcock, so I am really excited to pick this one up. It's her first release in a really long time, so I think it's going to be really good, and I am excited to get to it. And then the last book I'll be reading for that vlog is She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. This is a sapphic YA romance, and it follows these 2 girls who are absolute enemies, but they get in a car accident between each other, and so one of the girls' cars is totaled, and their moms conspire and have them drive to school together every morning. They definitely hate each other. They have this rivalry, but they kind of start to form a friendship and maybe something a little bit more. I think they also strike up a fake dating kind of scheme, and so I think it's got enemies to lovers and fake dating in it, which 2 of the best tropes together. What could go wrong? Sounds so good. I'm very excited to pick this one up. Cover is also beautiful. I can't get over these covers. They're so pretty. And then I'm going to be talking about like 3 separate secret TBRs in this video. The NetGalley ARCs one is one. I mean, that's not really a secret, but that's one like themed reading vlog TBR. And then I have another one, and Dark Places, which I already talked about, is a part of that. But for that same vlog, I'm also going to be reading Lock Every Door by 𝗖lie sais. This book follows this girl who gets a job apartment sitting in this mysterious old building. And while there, one of the residents that she has kind of befriended ends up going missing. And our main character then has to figure out what happens. I've heard such good things about this book. This is a lot of people's favorite 𝗖lie sais. 𝗖lie sais has been like a hit or miss with me. I loved Home Before Dark and I hated Final Girls, so I'm interested to see where I fall with this one, but this one sounds really good and I have high hopes for it. And for that same vlog, I'm also going to be reading Confessions by 𝗕𝗓. I am not really quite sure what this book is about, but from what I've gathered of the synopsis, I think it is about this teacher whose daughter is killed by her student, and so she plots revenge on her students for this crime. Sounds kind of wild, but I've heard absolutely nothing but good things about this from people that I trust, so I'm very excited to pick it up and hopefully I like it a lot. And then these 3 books are also part of Secret TBR, and if anyone can guess what this Secret TBR is, I will give you something because I feel like no one could guess what this is for. So I've already talked about Little Women and the Good Daughter, but The Infinite Noise by Lauren Shippen is also a part of that Secret TBR. So this is a YA like contemporary fantasy kind of story. It is about this kid who is like an empath to the extreme, where he can actually like physically feel the emotions of the other people around him very, very strongly. Then he finds this boy he's like really drawn to, and they form a friendship, and I think they eventually have a romance. I think this is like a queer romance story, and I think it also has good like mental health rep. I think our characters go to therapy. This book sounds really cool. It is a part of this Bright Sessions podcast that Lauren Shippen does. I need to look more into it. I need to figure out whether I need to listen to the podcast first or if I can listen to it after this book. I think this like is related to that in some way. So I kind of like that it's like multimedia, different stuff going on. I'm very excited to pick this one up. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. And then I'm also planning to pick up 𝗖liche at Last by 𝗧𝗯𝗹𝗃 Jalaluddin. This is a Muslim Pride and Prejudice retelling, and I'm reading this for the Down Memory Jane book club that is hosted by Elena over Elena the Great, as well as a couple other creators. So in this book, our main character 𝗖liche meets this boy named Khalid, and she has this huge crush on him, even though he is not the proper person to have a crush on according to her family and their traditions. But then a wrench is thrown into things when 𝗖iche's cousin is actually arranged to be married to Khalid, and so she has to figure out what's most important to her and what is going to happen. Sounds like it's going to have a lot of family drama and cultural elements. I'm very excited to pick this one up, and I think it's going to be really good and make for a great discussion with the book club. And speaking of book clubs, I'm also going to be picking up Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. This is Sally Thorne's newest release. I read and loved The Hating Game last year, so I'm very excited for this one. It is basically about this girl who is the front desk receptionist, I think, for this like old person's home, this retirement community. She's just living her best life until the property owner's son is hired as like an assistant to one of the rich old ladies. They kind of clash at first because he's very different from her, but I think that they eventually have this romance. He's this like tattooed like rich boy, like I don't know, but I'm very excited for this. I think it's going to be so fun. And if you're not a part of the Sugar and Spice book club hosted by Kirsten and Amanda, I don't know what you're doing, because it is so much fun and we have the best discussions every month. And so those are all of the books that I plan to read in April. Hopefully I can get to all of them. March was good in the first half, but then I've kind of started crashing and burning in the second half. You'll see in my wrap up, but I hope that April is good throughout, and I'm very excited to pick up all of these books, and especially for the secret TBRs that I have coming. So I hope you guys will stick around, subscribe if you want to, if you feel so inclined, and you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm very active over on those 2 platforms. But either way, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.